Hello and welcome to Filmi Ladies. We are Pitu and Beth, and today we're going to talk about a movie that has been in our headspace for quite a while because everybody keeps talking about it. No one will shut up about it. And we have at least one subscriber, Melanie Subramaniam, who really wants us to talk about it. I had wanted to see Saiyaara when it came out just because I had FOMO. And I was reading on Reddit and Instagram about like the hype surrounding it. Unfortunately, my local theater, which gets very few Indian movies, had other thoughts. And so all the showtimes were terrible and I couldn't see it. And I couldn't be bothered to go 45 minutes away to the theater that was showing it. And I don't think Sayar was showing in Betstown at all, right?
I don't remember, but I didn't see it in the theater either. So
Yeah. So when I heard that it was finally out on Netflix, I immediately WhatsApp Beth and I was like, "Okay, Beth, let's do this. We have at least one subscriber who's gonna watch this episode, so let's go watch Sayara for Melanie Subramaniam. So this one's for you." Um, okay, so this is a 2025 movie. It is directed by Mohit Suri. It has two newcomers that are very much being considered heartthrobs right now. The actor is Ahan Pandey. He is the nephew of Chunky Pandey, and the actress is Aneet Padda. I have not seen these people in anything before this movie, and yeah, it's become quite a sensation. I will say I was not quite as blown away by the people I saw in the Instagram videos that were crying in the theater. No tears were shed in my home, but I'm very curious to see if tears were shed in Beth's home. Beth, were you weeping?
shockingly, I did cry a little bit.
Okay.
But also, I hated this movie. I don't know how those two things fit together.
Was it like angry crying where you were mad at me for
No,
WhatsApping you to watch this
no, I
film?
was because of course this was being talked about. Even, I'm mostly just on Bluesky at this point, and even there, obviously people were talking about it a little bit. I sometimes have a perverse reaction of if everyone loves it, well, I'm not gonna love it. Vice versa, if everyone hates a thing, I think, well, I'll be the person that this movie was made for then.
Right?
I really, really, really did not like this movie. And yet there were moments of it that I guess I have to say they worked for me because they affected
Right.
me. They affected me in some way, not for long and not nearly as much as it wanted, I'm sure, but also, yeah, I'm not completely made of stone, but this is very much not my bag at all.
Right. That's interesting because I don't think, first of all, I don't think you cry in movies the way I do. I just cry on a
No,
daily
I don't think
basis
I
because
do.
it's my number one hobby.
Sure.
I feel like you have healthier hobbies than I have. So I don't think this is a thing you do
My
regularly.
hobbies are just less dehydrating than yours, I guess.
Yeah.
Like you work out a lot and you love to cry, and I don't love to work out. I mean, I try a little bit, but like, and I don't love to cry. So,
It's balanced. This is why we're friends. We
right,
wouldn't be
right.
friends if we were identical to each other. That would be narcissistic. So it's good that we're different. But so this is very interesting to me that you hated the movie and at the same time it made you cry because I can't think of any movie that has. I mean, there are films that I've just wept in, right? Like Sairat, Laila Majnu. So there's movies I can't even talk about Apur Sansar without like being like a sniveling terrible mess. But typically those are movies I absolutely love, and often I refuse to rewatch those films because I am not up for that level of emotional pain in
Right.
2025. um, but this is a very unusual thing for me. So I'm very curious to ask you, okay, first let's get into why did you hate it? And then I'm very curious to know what worked about it for you, because clearly something really tugged at your heartstrings if you
Mhm.
were if you were crying. So what about it did you hate?
So I'm trying to I took a screen grab of a comment from
Mm,
Letterboxd that I thought summed it up well. So while I open that, let me say um a major an unusual but major disease is not a personality.
mm,
Um and this was just I mean this guy in this movie is kind of Devdas to me. Like none of this works for me on him. What did work for me was that the idea of someone you love and you who you know loves you becoming inaccessible to you for whatever reason is very sad. That
mhm,
that was moving to me. But the kind of as soon as I worked through the like, wow, that would really be awful. And it is awful when it happens for other much more normal reasons.
Yeah.
It just kind of lost me again. This was manipulative and juvenile, I thought, and
Mm.
I don't like it.
It's
Go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it. This character that was played by him, Krish Kapoor, it felt very rock star to me.
Very,
Um, the
very
whole like tortured artist thing, where I'm such a genius artist person, and y'all don't know how misunderstood
well,
I
and
am, and I'm
also
such a
like
genius.
his motivation is fame. And like I don't find that motivating at all. I find that shallow, honestly.
Yeah,
So it's like I don't, and he did become a better rounded character as the film went on, I thought, but especially at first, I was like, I don't care.
yeah. It was just kind of like I mean, when I started watching the movie, I was like, I've seen this guy multiple times in multiple movies, and every single time this guy just like seems very like a walking red flag and just seems very problematic to
Absolutely.
me.
Absolutely.
And also this message of like women are supposed to find this guy like sexy and attractive. I don't find it sexy and attractive
Oh,
when a dude walks into like a PR firm or a communications firm or a tabloid even and bashes someone up because they didn't write a nice review. Like that is not supposed to be attractive, and yet that is very interesting and attractive and
and
sexy even
and
to
for
the
someone
actress.
who claims to be such an artiste, I'm like, well, art is subjective. So someone is allowed to have and
Yeah,
is allowed to express their negative opinion of you, just like you are allowed to express, like you could write back to them in the comments or
yeah.
whatever in a professional way. But this is violent man-child nonsense.
Yeah. And then the whole thing about like it's the guy who's the violent man child and who's like toxic and who is just this ridiculous like tortured artist. I hate that entire trope so much. But then also the girl is always this like angelic, sensitive, pure little, and this movie is so obvious. Like if you look at their wardrobes, for instance, he's always in this grungy emo black. Like you literally don't see him wear any other color except black. Wow, that is so radical and shocking and novel. And his clothes are always grungy. And he always looks like he has, you don't know when the last time when he had a shower. And I'm pretty sure he has bad body odor, which is a major turn off for me. And then you look at her and she's wearing these like white malmal kurtas, pure as the driven snow, and jeans, and her hair is pretty. And she's so pretty. She looks like this
Very pretty.
little doll next door with her long lashes and her glossy lips. And it's just kind of like, yo, we've seen this before. I would be more interested in this movie if the genders were flipped.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
That never
still
would.
would not like it
No.
if the woman was just obnoxious and horrible and treating people like shit and just being like shallow and vapid,
Mhm.
but it would at least be interesting, right?
Mhm.
Here I was just kind of like, okay, so this is like every Imtiaz Ali hero then. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, this has manic pixie dream girl tendencies in a way that I really hate. Manic pixie dream boy would also be annoying, but it would at least
Yeah.
be somewhat less common and obvious.
Yeah, so at the get-go that alone was not working for me and I was like, oh dear. um but I will say, as the movie went on, it did interest me for a while because I did like their acting. I really liked the girl. I really liked that actress, Aneet Pada. She was soft, she was nuanced. There was no shrieking or anything like that. I even like the way she looks. And I don't mean that in like a superficial, like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty kind of way. I mean it in the way that a lot of the actresses nowadays look the same to me because they're all kind of in that Kylie Jenner mold of like the plumped up lips and the Botox and the fillers. And she literally just looks like some like random girl who lives in your apartment building in Mumbai, right? And like she's obviously dressed in a certain way, but it's not like ultra glamorous. She's believable as she essentially wears the same uniform that Kankana Sen wears in Wake Up Sid. It's
Yeah.
kurtas with jeans and like
But,
a jhola and
but
silver
with Chuck
bangles.
Taylor's, because she's like a little
With
more
what?
alternative, but with Chuck Taylor sneakers, right? So she's a little more alternative or whatever.
Yeah. But it's like it's all of that. I at least to me that was refreshing. I liked her
Sure.
acting a lot. And the scene where she's in the family court office and she's waiting for her groom, and I was like, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
Like I have a bad feeling about this. All the other couples are like saying their vows and like signing their things, and I'm like, this does not bode well. And then of course the boy like dumps her over the phone, and I just felt like her reaction was so good. Like that would have been classic like histrionics mode where she collapses on the floor and it's all very melodramatic. And she didn't do any of that. She was just kind of like shocked about it. So I really liked the way that this actress, Anit Pada, portrayed her role. I think that the writing lets her down a lot, but
Yeah.
at least initially, I was like, okay, I can get behind this girl. I like her. I care about her. And then Krish Kapoor, like, yeah, whatever. I didn't like him from the get go, but at least he was interesting and he was like a little bit of a contrast to her. But as the movie went on, I was just like, what is going on with these people? And then the Alzheimer's thing, I was like, okay, this movie's really losing me. And that's when it failed the cell phone test. And then I started watching cat memes on my phone while the goings on were happening. But again, even in those, some of those Alzheimer's suffering from that scene that was happening, I still had some sympathy for them. I think her confusion, her lack of identity, her fear, her sheer terror at that, the way she is trying to hide that information from her parents, all of those things were like working for me until they weren't working for me. So I think for me, the biggest problem with this movie, apart from how stereotypical and conventional it is and like all of those annoying tropes, is the lack of consistency.
Mm.
Like there's times when I get what the director's doing. I think he's ably helped along by his actors, who I did think did a good like job. The background score is good. The music is decent. It's not really my kind of music. It's like
Oh, I
whatever.
hate it. Oh,
I
yeah.
know I hated it too, but I can see how people like it. I don't like it, but I can like Mohit Suri's music never works for me. It's just not my cup of tea. But I know people like it. It's like Rock On. I hate the soundtrack of Rock On, but I know that there are people who love it, so it's fine, whatever. But it was just very jaggedy to me. And even though I hate Krish Kapoor as a character, I liked some of the choices he was making. I feel like he was learning and growing to some
A little
extent.
bit.
Like he
Yep.
went from being this shallow, stupid, fame obsessed person with like anger issues. But then I did feel bad for him when I saw what his dad was like. Cause like she comes from such a supportive and nice family, and then his
Yes.
dad is just like terrible. But then I like the fact that he was taking care of her, because I wouldn't have thought he had it in him. But it just didn't work. It was just like towards the end, I was really just waiting for it to end. So it just didn't work for me towards the end. So it was just very inconsistent. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, basically same. Don't need sexual assault as a plot point in 2025. I understand, believe me, listeners, I understand that this is a template that exists. I saw people and people I respect even saying things like Bollywood's back, baby. And I was like, ah, okay. But Hindi films have always been, and even Bollywood or whatever you want to you whichever words you want to use, right, has always been more diverse than this. And
Yeah.
I personally am frustrated that this is a formula that has been brought out again. I recognize that it is a formula, and there are plenty
Mhm.
of formulaic things that I like, as we have discussed on this show, many,
I
many.
mean, we know your love of villain layers
Right,
on
right.
in a wig.
This is not my formula. This is not my flavor of cheese or whatever, right? So this is 100% not for me. And I really do think this is, and I honestly am not meaning to be offensive to people who are thoughtful about what they watch and how they watch it, but this feels very juvenile to me
Yeah.
for teenagers. And there's some, and you say we say that we just did an episode on Clueless, so like I
Yeah.
understand how that feels different. I don't feel that there's much wit about this. I don't
No.
feel that there's much depth to this most of the time. There were some moments, and one of the moments I did really like is when Vani is really frustrated with her job at thinly disguised BuzzFeed, where she's like, "This is not
Oh, yeah. Buzz list.
um, this is
Yeah.
this does not matter to me." I'm like, "Good, go," but also it is 2024 in the movie or whatever, right? Like you've heard, right, that journalism is dying and under attack in lots of parts of the world. So like, I have a special notebook. I want to be a writer. I'm like, I know she's young. I know
Yeah.
that. And I don't mean to say that no one should be idealistic, but I'm like, what did you think you were signing up to do? They told
Right.
you in the thing you're going to be doing celebrity interviews. We saw it. Um,
Yeah.
So the whole like, I'm gonna take my notebook and go home. Like, okay, fine. Um,
I almost wish like if they had shown a scene where she's kind of like, this is really not what I want to do, but fine, whatever. It's a stepping stone to doing what I want to do. Like I have a friend that you know as well who always wanted to be a filmmaker, but he's an outsider. There weren't very many opportunities available to him. So he started at the bottom as a film journalist covering like audio launches,
mhm.
not even like big premieres, right? Audio launches, mahurats. That's what he was reporting for midday. And he made his way up the ranks. And today he's like an actual filmmaker because you got to start somewhere. So at least if she acknowledged that, I'd be like, okay, fine. Or if she was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a podcast about
Right.
poetry.
That's the thing, because so many creative pursuits you can do outside of
Yeah.
that you are earning a living. And yes, by all means, it would be lovely if everyone could do for their paid job what they most love to do. And I am someone who often gets to do that. So I do speak from a position of vast privilege about this. But, that doesn't happen for everybody. You can pursue
Mhm.
it, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen or happen immediately or pay you what you need or what you want. But you can still work on those things. And especially because she's living at home, right? Like she's not as I don't know.
Neither of these people seem particularly committed to the grind,
Not really, no.
but you kind of have to
Hey,
be
like
committed to
I
the
don't
grind.
I don't need to glorify the grind
Yeah.
at all, but it just again, there's like a fantasy element to this that I was just tired of. But again, like we are the age of these people's parents for
Yeah.
basically. I don't have patience for this. Um,
Yeah.
and
There
I
was,
I'm baffled that this seems to have worked for so many viewers,
yeah.
especially because I, I didn't recognize anyone in this film, not a single person. And I did look a lot of them up. I'm like, oh, I have seen these people here and there. I didn't recognize any of these people. I've only seen two Mohit Suri films. I know his name, obviously, but like, so it's interesting that something with that is so stale in some ways, but has fresh faces attached to it that somehow managed to work. And it made me think about Betab that we talked about for our Amrita Singh episode, where again, totally standard story, but it had
Yeah.
those fresh faces with it, and it totally worked. And that movie worked for me really well. So don't ask me the
Yeah.
difference here. Like I'm not saying I can justify my reaction exactly, but this just felt so
Yeah.
tired and basic to me, and I was just like, God, just grow up. And I know that how old are they supposed to be? 22, 24?
Assume so, yeah, because I assume she's graduated
I
college,
think
so
she
she
says
has
she's
to be at least
graduate. Yeah.
22.
And for those who don't know, I work on a university campus. I work with undergrads and graduate students all the time, and they're all infinitely more mature than these people. So, uh, this is very,
One thing that didn't work for me at all and is a major plot point hole is when her mom says that she wants to take her to Nainital to like take care of her at her sister's house or whatever, and then that idea just gets shoved by the side because he's going to take care of her in Alibag. And I'm like, look at how conservative her parents are. Look at how traditional they are. Her mom is literally one of those moms who cannot let her daughter go anywhere without giving her like dahi shakkar, like, yogurt with sugar in it for
oh
like
yeah.
auspicious good. She's even giving dahi shakkar to him. And they're not married. And one of the first things she asks him initially is like, are you going to marry her? Because she's like a really simple girl. And I know boys like you, blah, blah, blah. So she's not one of those like quasi-modern moms that Bollywood likes to portray. She's like a traditional Punjabi mom. And meanwhile, this traditional Punjabi mom and the dad are allowing her to just go and live somewhere with this boy who is supposedly going to take care of her when she's suffering from a disease. On which planet does this happen? This does not happen anywhere in India. It makes no sense. And but unless they let that happen, the movie cannot go forward because you cannot see him taking care of her. And you're supposed to really like him because look how he is putting his dreams on the back burner to take care of the woman he loves. But the only way he can do that is if her parents let them. And that just the whole story breaks at that point.
Um,
So it makes no sense to me. And I was like, this movie's stupid. But I wanted to ask you because I'm always trying to be aware of my blind spots and I'm always trying to be aware of my biases. And this actually reminded me of a very funny incident. So I was a preteen when the Khans were becoming a thing, right? Like they were nobodies, but Maine Pyar Kiya, blockbuster. Kayamat Se Kayamat Tak, blockbuster. Deewana, Dilashna, blockbuster. Suddenly, everybody knew who Salman Khan, Amir Khan, and Shah Rukh Khan were. And me, preteen Pitu, was very interested in these people. And I had borrowed a VHS cassette of Maine Pyar Kiya from one of my friends 6 months after it had released in India. And I remember absolutely weeping at the end of Maine Pyar Kiya. There's a scene where Salman Khan is like dancing or being very emo outside of Bhagyashrie's house, and he's wearing his leather jacket and he looks real scruffy. He looks like he hasn't eaten in days, and he's wearing like a bandana around his head, and it's the SP Balasubramaniam song Dil Divana Bin Sajana Ke Mane Na, but it's like the sad version of it, and he's all like tortured, and preteen Pitu was crying. So I was sitting on my living room sofa, absolutely weeping, because I was like, oh my God. And my dad, who was a film buff, who was a big old Dilip Kumar fan, like was just looking at the screen and looking at me, and he was like, who is this hero? And I was like, this is Salman Khan. And then he was like, what about that movie you saw the other day? I was like, that was Shah Rukh Khan. And he was like, what is that other movie your friends were talking about? I was like, oh, what's Kayamat Se Kayamat? That's Amir Khan. And my dad was like, why are all these people so scrawny? Not one of these men looks good. Why don't they get a haircut? Because, they all had those like mullets back then, right? Especially Shah Rukh. I mean, Shah Rukh's hair would be in his eyes. And he was like, don't these people know how to get a haircut? And then he launched into a tirade of how great Dilip Kumar was and how great Raj Kapoor was. And like, Guru, of course, I didn't give a shit.
Sure.
I'm like, yeah, whatever. I've seen all those Dilip Kumar movies you keep talking about. They're
okay,
boring.
boomer.
Yeah, it's like, okay, boomer, not interested. I want to see this. I want to cry for Prem. And my dad was just like, whatevs. And he left. So I remember being that person that was just so besotted by those movies. And I remember my dad just being like, this is stupid. You should watch good cinema. You should watch Madhumati. And I'm like, I don't want to watch Madhumati. That's stupid. So time is cyclical. We all become our parents one day.
Yeah.
I have now become my father, and I am now that person that is watching the Saiyaara people cry on the sofa. They're like, oh my God, Ahan Pandey. And I'm like, this is stupid. So my point is, I know we all have biases. And I know that at our age, we're over this. We were not over it at our age, right? So let's try to do you think that we're just being haters because we're old? It's okay if you think we are. But it's also okay if you don't agree.
Also, one of the things that comes with more years in life, right, is you have been exposed to more, you have chosen to see more, whatever. So like our references are different. So even I have probably seen more Hindi films than some of the younger people who are rhapsodizing over this, right? So not all of them, but some of them. So something that is fresh for one person is not for another, and that's just living. So maybe, but we're not dismissive without trying it in this case. Like we did try it. I do remember reading about this film when it was out and thinking, I don't really think this is going to be for me. And I was right in this case. It wasn't. And obviously we're not going out there saying no one should ever make this film burn down a cinema or anything, like that, right? But it's just, this is our critical lens as humans and as cinema people is different. I think, I don't know. Is that a slightly longer way of saying, okay, Gen X, get, shut up? But maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But also, I know, I always like to say both the things. Like, I'm very much devil's advocate. Like, on the one hand, I was like, are we just being haters? But then I was thinking about how much I love two movies that also are, they're not the same story, obviously, but they're kind of like these doomed romances. There's a lot of love, but there's also like bad things happen. And one of those movies is one of my absolute favorite films of all time, which is Saiyaara, which I've only watched once because it is too painful. I cannot go down that path again, right? And Saiyaara is magnificent. And it's young people, eloping, and it's basically Romeo and Juliet in Marathi, right? I also really love Laila Majnu. This is a movie made by Imtiaz Ali, who is a director I do not enjoy, right? But it has Avinash Tiwari in it. It has Tripti Dimri in it. And I love Laila Majnu so much that I saw it twice in 24 hours. So I had the day off And I had heard a lot about Laila Majnu, but I never saw it when it came out. I think it came out in 2018 and it had like a very limited release and whatnot. And I had just seen Avinash Tiwari in Khaki the Vihar chapter and I liked him. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to give this movie a shot. Like, what do I have to lose, right? So I watched it and I saw it during my lunchtime on my day off. I was besotted. And then
No.
my husband came home around like 6 p.m. and I was like, "Bah, bah, bah, bah," about I was like, oh, you have to see Nana Vishnu. And he was like, okay, I'll watch it like during dinner or something. And I watched it again with him.
Wow.
And again, I was like crying. So similar things. I mean, Laila Majnu is Romeo and Juliet in Hindi, and Saiyaara is Romeo and Juliet in Hindi. And this is also like a doomed romance. Like, yeah, there's no Montagues and Capulets or whatever, but it's like Alzheimer's. But still, it's two people against the world or whatever, and or against nature or genetics or whatever. And yet those movies moved me so much, and this one didn't. And so those were also initially aimed towards the youth, right? Like when you're making a doomed love story and you have fresh faces and you have exceptional music and it's all about like first love and heartbreak and tenderness and all of those things, you are primarily aiming at that youth segment. And if their parents and their older siblings want to see it, great. And both Sairat and Laila Majnu are considered like masterpieces. This just isn't. So clearly something about those movies was far better than this was. And so at first I was like, maybe I'm just being a hater and maybe I'm just old. And then I was like, I don't think I'm being a hater, although I am old. So one of those two things is true.
Yeah. Also, it's also legit to hate things if you give
Yeah.
them a fair shot, regardless of your age. So like it doesn't
Yeah.
be one or the other. Yeah. I was trying to think while watching this, why do I like Betab and I don't like this?
Yeah.
Because I hate Taming of the Shrew. I really do.
You do. Yeah. You hate Taming of the Shrew.
Um,
I mean, it is hateable, to be
and yet
fair.
that movie was far more effective. And I was just trying to think, what are the ingredients, that make it different? What it, in the
Mm.
not only in what's being presented, but how it's being presented, of course. And as good as the actors were in Sayara, I think Amrita Singh is way more just like engaging to me, right?
So feisty,
Sunny,
so
Sunny is
amazing.
not someone I have strong feelings about the way you do, but like he too was more like, I don't really want to know that guy either. Like, I don't want to hang out with
Yeah.
either of these two romantic leads, even if I was that age. Like, I didn't fall for this when I was this age either.
Mm.
So, but yeah, it's like Sonny's less whiny than this guy,
Yeah.
but he's also more violent. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Oh, but this guy's pretty violent too, actually. I take that back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but also that was uh, as cultures, right? Things
Mm.
change between the 80s and the 2020,
Yeah.
20s.
It's decades
Thank
ago.
God.
Yeah.
So the context is different, not just for the people watching, but for the culture in which it's made and for which it's made and everything. So this movie indicates that violence is justified. This kind of interpersonal violence is justified. This movie
Yeah.
also, I think, indicates that now, correct me if I'm wrong, please. It seemed to me that Krish's dad was basically okie dokie cured by his stint in rehab, right? Because at the
Not
end, somewhere along
sure.
the line, he starts to give good advice or something like that. I'm like,
Momentarily, yeah.
yeah, and then that like they make a big deal out of it for a few scenes, but that's not really followed through. And
Yeah.
there are a few things like, um, I don't know. I don't know. And then the convenient coincidence of seeing her in the background of a video that is on the Jumbotron at Wembley Stadium. Like, um, I love a convenient coincidence. That's just not
Right.
my preferred flavor. I prefer
Yeah.
that, oh my God, all the strands of the family in Vught are walking by the hospital at the same time. Like,
Right.
that's my kind.
Right.
I do think that one of the things about this movie that does not work for me, to no surprise, is there's a kind of strand in here about the again, correct me if you don't agree or please argue with me, is here one of the threads here is an Indian rock band is so famous that it's being sung all over the world. That
Mm.
has not yet happened.
Right.
Indian music does not light the entire world on fire. at this point
Right.
in history. So I think there's a bit of wish fulfillment there going on. So like the whole like we're the first band at Wembley and like
Yeah.
that's part of this movie that I think probably is motivating, is causing affection for some viewers that
Mm,
I don't really care. I'm not anti-Indian music becoming more popular globally, but that does not motivate me. Um,
right.
so I think that there's kind of this, our creative thing has reached at least Britain, but I
Yeah.
think it's supposed to be pretty much global. And that's a love story of its own kind, right? Or hoped for a sort of cultural romance or whatever that I can see how that would motivate. I can see how that would be a draw, even subconsciously for some viewers.
Yeah.
It doesn't resonate with me, but
I think also from everything that I read, people keep talking about the music and about how it made a difference to them. And I understand what they're talking about in the sense that I do think that insanely good soundtracks were the reason for why Kayamat Se Kayamat Tak was a blockbuster, why Maine Pyar Kiya was a blockbuster, DDLJ was a blockbuster, or Divana was a blockbuster. I mean, great Betab for that matter, right? Like that the music has to really capture people for it to be a thing, for
sure.
people to be obsessed with it. Like music does carry that through. And in the two movies that are referred to that I really love, that are like doomed love stories, which is Sairat and Lela Majnu, they have phenomenal soundtracks. I just didn't like the music of this movie. I do very much suspect that if I had liked the music of this film, I think it would have had a much bigger impact on me, because I cannot think of those doomed romance. Like I cannot think of Kyamat Se Kyamat Tak without thinking of Akele Hai To Kya Gum Hai. Like that song is so integral to that film, right? Or Dil Divana is so integral to Maine Pyar Kiya. It's so like it just transports you into the world that those lovers live in, right? Or the songs from Sairat, or like the song from Lela Majnu. The what is that song that I love from it? That's like it has the the Kashmiri instrument that's really amazing. It's like the string instrument. Maybe it's the santoor, I'm not sure. But it's the song called O Meri Laila. I was listening to that song on loop for
Mm.
like days after because it was just so phenomenal and the writing was so good. This music just left me cold, and that this is a problem I have with Mohit Suri's music. I just don't like his music. But he's known as being a director who has good music, kind of like Imtiaz Ali. Having said that, Rockstar left me really cold, and Imtiaz Ali's movies, by and large, are just not my cup of tea. But he typically has good music, and Rockstar had phenomenal music by the one and only A.R. Rahman, and I still didn't care. So I do think if I had loved the music of Saiyaara, it would have made me have a much more positive opinion. But I don't think it still would not have completely changed my point of view.
Because
What
this
did you
dude is toxic, right? This dude's bad news.
Yeah, he bad news. What did you think of Ahan Pandey and Aneet Bada's acting? Do you think you would like to see more of them? Do you
Sure,
think they have talent? Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I don't have any complaints about any of the performances.
Mm.
Now, caveat, I did watch this early last week and then we had some difficulties in scheduling, so I didn't, I'm not as fresh on this um as I could be, but yeah, I don't recall any. I mean, I felt like the doctor was a little wooden, but like she doesn't
Oh
act.
yeah.
Um, so
The doctor was so wonderfully solicitous and so kind and lovely. And I was like, are we sure she's a doctor? Most doctors will talk to you for 10 minutes, talk down to you, and shoo you out of their office. I was like, that's a nice doctor.
yeah, the villainous ex was, you
Oh,
know,
he was so one note. He was
he
hilarious.
was, but like that's fine because he's just a catalyst, even though he's also a rapist and all sorts of other things. So yeah, I have no issues with any of the performances that I can remember. It's a writing issue for me.
Yeah, it's a writing issue for me as well. I'm very interested in seeing more of Ahan Pandey. He gives me a little bit of a Varun Dhawan vibe, and I don't know why.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like with Varun Dhawan, I remember he came out with Student of the Year, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But then he really won me over. Of course, he gave some amazing performances and like Badlapur in October that really proved his talent. But then I also really enjoy Varun when he does comedy like
I
Bhedia.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that. It's
And he's so good in the emotional scenes. He doesn't get enough credit for this, but if you see his emotional scenes with Alia Bhatt and like those Badrinaths,
I
the
like those
Humpty
movies.
Sharma,
Yeah.
yeah, he's really good in those
Yep.
scenes too. And I
Yep.
think he has such a reputation for being like the goofy guy that people don't give him enough credit for, even when he pulls like emotional punches.
Yep.
So I have hopes that Han Pandey is going to kind of go down that Varun Dhawan route, and not the current Varun Dhawan route where he's just remaking his dad's tired old films, but the Varun Dhawan that makes good choices. I think I'm very much interested in seeing more of Ahan Pandey, and I really liked Aneet Banda. I thought she was such a breath of fresh air, and that scene where he finally meets her up north, was it Nainital or Missouri? I don't know.
And it's all, I believe.
Okay, yeah, it reminded me a little bit of like Jab We Met,
Sure.
like when she's
Yeah.
up. These people always, these film people always go off to some mountain, and there's always some like convenient ashram or monastery that they'll just take them in, and they'll take care of them, and I'm like, okay, I guess I know where to go if I'm having a meltdown
I have
or a nervous
a
breakdown.
question about that segment. Was your understanding that her at that point she's in touch with her parents or no? Because
I
obviously
don't think she was.
at the beginning they're all looking for her, but like did her family just give up? Like um and just or does she not remember her parents? Because she remembers him with her notebook, like her, thing and everything, but I can't.
My understanding was that she initially just wanted to leave to spare everybody the pain of seeing her disintegration or whatever. And that, because God forbid the people who love you take care of you,
Sure.
separate issue. But then like she goes away or whatever, and it's the duty of these nurses, nuns, I don't know what they are, whatever. It's their calling, I guess, to help this girl. And along the line, I think she probably does forget her parents, because that lady refers to him as saying that she wrote a letter for you, and Krish Kapoor is the only name she says. She never, like, there's no reference of she talks about her mom or her dad or whatever, right? So that was my understanding, that at first she just like left them to spare them the pain, and then along the line the disease took over to the point that she truly genuinely does not remember anyone except for him in certain flashes.
Right.
And presumably they're still trying to find her. I don't know. It
Right.
sounds horrible to me, but okay, I guess
A little
that's how you
bit.
express your love.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then when he meets her, I mean, it had like a little bit of a Jab We Met vibe, where it's like Shahid Kapoor comes and like finds Karina, and she's like washing dishes or whatever. And yeah, I mean, that scene where he's trying to like remind her of stuff, and he's like doing the mock cricket thing. I thought that was like sweet. I thought he acted really well in that. But again, it's just the movie overall didn't work for me. I really wish the writing had been better. And I really wish it didn't have these. Like, what would have been the problem with making him a driven, ambitious person who has a questionable family background, does not have a lot of backing, and who really wants to be like a famous rock star, but he's also not a toxic dude?
Right.
I think he would still
Not,
be
of
interesting.
course.
You can be a good person with good values who is also driven and ambitious. You don't automatically have to be like good and like boring, and also like bad and ambitious. Like that's dumb.
Yeah.
So
Can I read some of this letterbox review that I found that I think
sure.
some of this. So I won't read this whole thing, I promise. The review is by R. Sudarshan, if you care
Okay.
to look it up. I genuinely don't understand Bollywood's obsession with portraying toxic men as desirable. This whole bad boy with a tragic past is dream guy formula is not just tired. The hero is constantly high, lighting up joint after joint, rashly drives bike, shouts at the girl and barks orders, ignores her consent and privacy, casually hooks up with random girls. While the film, did he do that? I don't remember that, but
In the bathroom with the girl who of course was Gori.
oh, right, of course, that's right. While the film frames it like an alpha move, somehow that's our romantic lead. Enough with the rage worship, and the heroine, of course, is introduced as simple and sober, aka the quiet prop for the angry male fantasy. She's there to be shouted at, saved, kissed without warning, and to fall head over heels for this chaos machine. But really, if being simple means tolerating yelling, smoking, and emotional immaturity, maybe it's time we redefine simple. And if she's falling in love with him, that's not love, that's bad writing. Then there's the absolute nerve for the actor, a full-blown Nepo baby, calling another character a Nepo kid in the film. Do they not hear themselves? The irony isn't just
No.
ironic, it's deafening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
You know what's so funny? When you were reading this review out, I know this is a review of Saiyaara, but my brain went to Kabir Singh.
well, Sure,
I was
but
like, is this a review of Kabir Singh that Beth is
yeah,
mistakenly reading? No, because it's the same.
yeah,
The same arguments can be made for Kabir Singh. It's literally
it's
the
out there,
same.
right? Like this guy. I never finished Rockstar, but I feel like some of this is a little bit recognizable, but the music was to my ears a million times
Oh
better
yeah,
because that's
of
a
course.
soundtrack that I do love to listen to. Um, and and the acting is even better. Like I have no issue
Yeah.
with this here, but well, sorry, except for Nargis.
Oh yeah.
We all just make choices.
I know.
Yeah, but I guess in a way I'm glad to have seen this just to say
Yeah.
like, yes, it was 2025. I did watch a couple of movies this year. This was now I can understand what's being talked about better, but this was so not for me.
Yeah.
I mean, literally it was not made for someone like me, but also which is always true of Indian films, right? But
Hmm.
extra true for this one, but also just as a like we said, as a formula, this is not my formula.
No.
Um, and I cannot even say I think this was a well executed version of a formula. I don't like there were aspects that were well executed, mainly the writing, or sorry, the acting. The writing here is a real drag.
Yeah. And I don't mean to be the person who is just flogging a dead horse, but I will say, I mean, I know I was appreciative of the acting of both the leads. Having said that, it's still not what I would consider top notch. It's
No,
decent,
it's
it's
totally fine.
good,
Yep.
but it's not.
No.
Han Pandey's performance cannot match up to Avinash Tiwari in Lala Majnu. Let me just say. Like, you want to watch like a doomed love story. You want to see a guy go through all the highs and lows and all the things. You want to see him like crash out and you want to see the chaos machine. Watch Avinash Tiwari. That man can hold your attention. He held my attention for 3 hours in the same 24 hours and he had me weeping like a baby. So, yes, Han Pandey is good. Is he Avinash Tiwari good? That's a hell no. Yes, Aneet Pada is good. Was she as good as Rinku Rajguru in Saiyaara? Absolutely not. So
Mhm.
I know I said nice things about their acting. It's still not what I would consider like the gold standard. It's still not that. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
And this movie reminded me a little bit of Lutera in the like,
Oh,
chaos
Lutera.
man who does some caretaking type things and like
Mm,
tragic young heroine kind of deal. And Lutera, I mean, Lutera is so much better than this.
Lutera is amazing. I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it was also, I mean, it's obviously quite a few years old at this point, but it's also set in a different time period, and that helps.
Yes.
That helps
Yes.
with this kind of, and but also that hero, as non-ideal as he is, in some ways is less bad than this one.
Oh, for sure. He
So,
knows who he is. He knows what he's doing. And initially, and he always, even when he's doing the bad things, like when he's basically looting Sonakshi Sinha's father of his like ancestral property, he knows what he's doing is bad.
right.
He's okay with doing it, but he knows it's not a good thing to do. Like Ranveer Singh's portrayal in that movie was so layered. It was so
And like,
beautiful.
does this character know that beating people up because you disagree with their opinion about your art is not cool? Does
No,
he know that he's not just stopping a man from sexually assaulting a woman he cares about. It really goes a long way, right? So like there, and he is rewarded for this behavior in the end. So
no, he's in the Kabir Singh mode for sure. Kabir Singh's character or Arjun Reddy, which is the original, neither of those characters have ever shown a least bit of remorse. And they're supposed to be great and they get the girl in the end. And it's all gross and awful. I saw Kabir Singh and Arjun Reddy because apparently I have a lot of moral fortitude. My husband just couldn't. He saw 5 minutes and he was like, I'm done. There's a scene in both the films where Shahid Kapoor slash Vijay Devarkonda basically tell the maidservant to drop her trousers, and the both actors, they threaten her with like literally like a pocket knife, and they're trying to hit her with a flip flop as she's running out the building. And supposedly this is a very alpha move. My husband was like, I'm not watching this drivel. He was so pissed off, he switched the TV. He was like, I'm not watching this shit.
yeah, don't blame him.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm still gonna watch it because it's horrible, but apparently I'm a masochist. And so I watched it. I was like, wow, this is gross. Like, this is awful. But I also want to say, like, I know sometimes people who really like movies, such as yourself and me, we can sometimes make very serious comments or whatever about films, and sometimes that results in people being like, it's just a movie, yaar, which is like the fastest way to piss me off, by the way. They're
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
chill, yaar,
if that's what
you
you
know.
think, then why are you listening to film podcasts if it's
This
just
is true.
a movie? Like it's um I've never understood that point of view. And the more I learn about this particular art form, but like just life in general, if you think this is just a movie, then I don't then I would ask you to explain why they take so long to make and so many different people with so many expertises and cost so much money.
Yeah.
But you go right ahead and explain that to me.
But it's worrisome to me that I think that, especially in this day and age of like people becoming more and more far right, and the demonization of women and the amount of hatred that women get, and the red pilling, and like Netflix just made a lot adolescence, right, which is such a good show. And I was reading an article about how easy it is for preteen teen boys on TikTok or on Instagram, like within half an hour of them creating a TikTok or an Instagram account, they are immediately fed a lot of like red pill incel stuff where women are the enemy. And then Charlie Kirk recently just died, and I did not know who this man was, but as a result of his death, I've actually been seeing a lot of clips of his that my friends have been posting, talking about like, no, this was actually a horrific human, and he said some horrible things, and I was like, wow, he sounds awful. And some of the stuff he said, I was like, this is terrible stuff. So I do worry to some extent that when I see like Gen Z or like young people going gaga over movies like Kabir Singh or Arjun Reddy or this movie, I'm
Animal.
like, these are your heroes.
Yeah.
I mean, call me old fashioned, but the heroes I grew up with, from like Maine Pyar Kiya or Qyamat Se Qyamat Tak, I mean, kind of the only toxic thing that either of them did, I mean, they just eloped with the girl they loved and then danced around and pranced around singing sad songs when things didn't work their way. But neither of those characters were like red flags. They were silly and immature, sure, but they weren't toxic. And so if this is the brand of like if these men are supposed to be like portrayed as like attractive, I'm like, that's bad. That's very bad. Can we not? So I don't know, but like I said, I could be accused of overthinking it.
No,
Okay.
I don't think there's such a thing when it comes to art. I
Yeah.
really don't. I really don't.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, did
I
you?
hope I hope that some listeners will recommend something else from 2025 that they've liked because I am woefully behind. I would like to make myself a smidge more current, only little. That's my only goal is just to watch a few more things that are more recent. I know everyone's raving about the Malayalam kind of woman-led superhero film whose name I can't remember. That's on my list of things to watch when I get a chance. But um, you know, I you know, when someone says Bollywood is back with a film like this, I'm like, A, it never went anywhere. It's
Right.
been shifting around with what it prioritizes. And just because maybe you didn't like it, that doesn't mean it wasn't there.
Yeah.
You need to put in a little like my stripe of Bollywood is back, whatever, that's fine. But yeah. Yeah. I would like to see a few more recent things, and I'm gonna have to choose. I have to read up,
I
educate
don't
myself.
even want to see anything new. I just want to like get through my Irfan Khan filmography, which was very long and
Well, that's the other
unending
thing, right?
because he
There's
was,
so much that I'm very confident I want to watch that
yeah,
if I don't end up liking it, I still want to see it. So I will be I will be fine with that.
yeah. I will say, like, I don't know about Bollywood being back and whatnot. Bollywood has been extremely disappointing to me recently, but I would say Hollywood is making up to me because I loved Superman. I saw it in the theater. I
Mhm.
thought David Cornswet was so good, and I've seen the Zack Snyder Superman movies, and I really like this flavor a lot. Of course, it was called woke and lefty, and I guess I'm woke and lefty, so I liked it. And then I'm really excited for Good Boy, which is coming out. It's a horror movie that debuted at Sundance, and it finally got a release date, October 2nd. So I already know what I'm going to be doing on October 2nd. I'm going to go watch Good Boy. I already Googled if the dog dies. He does not die, so it's fine. It's a horror movie. It's going to be great. I also know that Anaconda releases on
Right.
December 25th. That has Paul Rudd and Jack Black. Of course, I'm going to see it. It
It
sounds
is fun to go to the
amazing.
movies on Christmas, so that
It
should
is fun, yeah. So I know I'm gonna watch Anaconda as well. So I have good things to watch. They're just pretty much all American. But my Irfan Khan will never let me down. So I still have my Irfan Khan list to go through. And even when I finally finish his filmography, I'll just rewatch his favorite movies. Professor Ashok Ganguly ain't going anywhere. I can
Right.
always watch Namesake for like the millionth time. So
Bef-
there's that.
Before we sign off, this is the first time we have recorded since the death of Robert Redford.
I
Do you
know.
have any thoughts on Robert Redford?
I mean, I loved Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I loved Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head when I was little.
Sure.
I love what he did with the Sundance Film Festival. I mean, he brought so many amazing. I mean, it's such a force,
Yeah.
that film festival. Yeah, very sad. It's like such a loss to like one of the greatest voices for environmental protection.
Mhm.
I'm sad for Jane Fonda, who lost such a good
Yeah.
friend of hers. I
Yeah.
mean, he was a good dude, and
Seems like
so
it.
very
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
To me, I almost like it's not even so much Robert Redford, the actor, that I care as much about, as much as the guy who founded Sundance and did so much for an art
Yeah.
form he
What
loves.
he did
And
with his
also the
celebrity.
guy who really raised his voice for environmental
Mhm.
activism, right? It's almost those legacies are more valuable to me. It's kind of like Paul Newman. Like, yes, I know Paul Newman was a great actor. I've seen lots of his films,
Right.
but it's really his philanthropy that makes him as beloved as he is.
Yeah.
Even people who necessarily are not fans of Paul Newman's work, which is shocking to me because he was a brilliant actor, even those people love Paul Newman for what he did. So very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have particular feelings on Robert Redford other than the kind of things you're saying. I've seen extremely few of his films. I was not
Same.
raised in a like movie focused house, but he's been a major celebrity my whole life. So that's kind of weird to think about, you know, someone being like he's been a movie star forever.
Hmm.
And it just had me thinking about he is a particular brand of American male hero that I find that interesting to think about. And I just keep thinking that at some point, probably before too terribly long, Harrison Ford will pass away. And that is gonna put me on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm just, if we're still doing our podcast whenever that happens, I hope he has a continued long and healthy, productive life in whatever terms are meaningful to him. But that's gonna devastate.
Yeah. I actually recently just saw a post about Harrison Ford on Instagram. I don't know if I sent it to you or not because I've had a really rough week. But anyway, it was really funny. So Harrison Ford was complaining about how scientists keep naming things that they discover after him, and they're almost always like creepy crawlies. And so they recently named a species of snake that they discovered, like a poisonous snake, and they've named it like Harrison
Amazing.
Fordy, whatever, whatever.
Love it.
And he literally was quoted as saying, I don't know why these scientists keep naming these scary, creepy crawlies after me. Literally, my hobbies are doing cross stitch and singing lullabies to my basil plants. And I was like, are you me? I also cross stitch and garden. Am I Harrison Ford? This is wonderful. Of course, no one is naming species of snakes after me, but I was like, okay, I have something in common with Harrison Ford.
I have to share that so I don't know how many of our listeners or maybe you will remember the website called The Toast.
Yes, I remember the
Yeah.
toast.
And the Toast used to have a repeating column called if name a famous person was your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. And there was one for if Harrison Ford was your boyfriend. It's one of the funniest things I've ever read. So I will put the link, yeah, if it's still available, I will put the link in the show notes and you can read what life would be like if Harrison Ford was your boyfriend. And I think it him making pancakes sometimes. And I was like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. And then, he'll sing lullabies to his basil plants and you can make like
Oh,
a nice pasta and then y'all can have it
and
with
then
like
he'll
a
go
nice glass of
save like
wine.
stranded hikers in Wyoming with his plane or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And also encounter Chewbacca and stuff. That would be great. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. Did you have any lasting thoughts on Sayara?
No, I hope not to have any either.
Okay.
So go get.
Well, let us know what you thought about Sayara. It's okay if you really liked it and we didn't. That's fine. We're here to discuss movies.
That's right.
If there is something that really worked about it and you think that worked for you and you feel like Beth and I just completely missed the point, or you would like to share that with us, then please definitely let us know. Yeah, and then if you think we just didn't like it because we're haters, that's okay. That is a possibility that
I,
I
I
had
genuinely
considered.
don't think
So
that's who we are, but if
yeah.
because why would you put energy into something if
Yeah.
you only hate it? Like I mean, obviously there are trolls on the internet who do that,
Oh
but
yeah.
we are not like that. So Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and do honestly, I would love to know other, 2025 releases in any from any part of India, any language that you think that we should see as they become available. We are open to suggestions.
Yeah. Okay. And we will see you next week with another episode. Thank you for watching. Bye.